Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user Help Me With My Hubby. Me, 31 female with my husband, 31 male, of 8 years. He downloaded an app geared towards cheaters. This is a throwaway, obviously. I don't know how or if to approach my husband about some sketchiness I saw on his phone. He always keeps his phone on him and he's always at it password protected, which makes me insanely curious about it because I, who have nothing to hide, am not protective of my phone. I leave it lying around the house all the time with no password. I don't know if he looks through it, but he would have multiple occasions every week to look through it freely, and I would not mind. He feels comfortable enough to pick it up and use a calculator or internet on it when he needs to, whereas on the other hand, if I asked to use his phone for some reason, he will pick it up and calculate for me or ask Google for me. I've always wondered what he's had to hide that he's so tight-fisted with his phone. Yesterday, we were expecting some friends over and he was wrist deep in raw burger meat when a text came in. He asked me to check it to see if it was them, and when I turned on the phone, it needed a password, which he gave me. I opened the messages, and before I clicked on the one from our friend, I caught a glimpse of the one below it, which happened to be from himself. I didn't need to open it to see what it said. New cover me password and 4 numbers. I checked the message from our friend and then locked the phone back up and set it down. I did notice he was very tense when I had his phone open. I googled cover me on my phone and information about an app came up that allows the users to keep texts and calls from people hidden as well as pictures and videos. This morning after you went to work, I watched a video on how the app is used, and apparently you have a regular password and you have a decoy password, I guess, so that if you get caught with it on your phone by your significant other, you can give them the decoy password and nothing incriminating comes up. Pretty genius. I'm burning with curiosity to see what my husband thinks he needs to cover up. I'm crossing my fingers that it's just smut. I don't mind smut. It's not something we share together or talk about, but I'm assuming he looks at it, and I would be so happy if he only needed that app because he wants to keep dirty videos secret. Recently, I had a red flag in my face. I do his laundry and always check pockets for lighters and pocket knives before I throw his stuff in because he never empties them. About 6 months ago, he asked me to wash a jacket. In the pocket, I found a hotel room key. I immediately took it to him with my eyebrows raised and my heart pounding. He had just bought a car from a friend and told me that he had found the key in the car and put it in his pocket to throw away later. I know, you're like, yeah, effing right now, but I swear I sat down and thought so hard about when he would have actually been able to use a hotel room to cheat on me, and I couldn't think of anything. He works 2 minutes away, he comes home for lunch every day, he comes straight home from work, and he spends every night in our bed. Sometimes he goes out for beers with his buddies, but I know he's with his buddies because we live right by the bar and they all drive to our house and walk over and then come back to our house to play games or watch movies until they can drive home. When I'm out with my friends, he is home with the kids. I can't imagine how he would find time to physically cheat, but where there's a will, there's a way, I guess. Also, he has an ex-girlfriend he dated like 10 years ago when we were on a break during college who is still obsessed with him even though she lives in another state. About a year ago, she started sending him emails to an old account of his that I have the password to because we get bills that go to it now and I pay all the bills. And I don't have the password to his current main email address. When I signed on to the account on my bi-monthly bill day, I saw all the back and forth emails between them and I read them, which didn't feel like snooping to me since he gave me the password and he knows I use it. And seriously, who wouldn't read them under those conditions? They started off innocuously, hey, how's life? Until she wrote an email just going off on what a horrible person I was to trap him into marriage by getting pregnant and how sorry she felt for him and how much she missed him. He wrote back that he loves me and our kids, but that was the point when I was like, I can read this, remember? You need to tell Crazy Pants to F off. I was really kind of mad that he didn't stick up for me a bit more and tell her that she shouldn't talk that way about his wife since he knows he wasn't trapped into marrying me. We were already living together and talking about marriage when I got pregnant, and she knows zilch about me since we've never had any sort of contact. The emails to that account stopped, but I guess he could be chatting with her this other way and doesn't want me to know. The furthest they could go would be to call, text, and send pictures on this app since she's 1,000 miles away. I guess there's also the possibility that he's having some kind of emotional phone affair with some other person or people. Okay, OP, this is somewhat of a gray situation. You do have some circumstantial evidence that if you put together in a certain way paints your husband in not the best of lights. However, as I said, it's all kind of circumstantial, since you also have pretty solid evidence that he can't be physically cheating on you. At least from what you tell us, he wouldn't have the time. Now, I do agree with you that I think he should have stood up to her friend a bit stronger regarding you. But the emails did stop, and you don't know if he's actually communicating with her any other way. You are assuming at this point. So what I would do if I was in your shoes, before thinking about, snooping on his phone or trying to get his password some other way, is sit down and talk to him about it. Just be honest and tell him that there's a few things that are making you feel a little bit insecure. For example, first of all, that Cover Me app that you know is guided for cheaters that he has on his phone. That gave you some pause. And then the emails and back and forth with this other friend that suddenly stopped, that you did have access to because it is to an email account that you use. If he gets sketchy or defensive or tries to gaslight you, then yeah, your suspicions would be a little bit more founded. But you might also get a proper response that will calm down your insecurities. I would think give him a chance to explain himself before you decide that he's guilty of anything. And what do you guys think, or what would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Dances with Sheep says, honestly, if it was Smut, he wouldn't need to keep texts and phone calls secret. He's trying to keep texts and calls from real people secret from you. One time I had a cheating ex that would leave work during the day so I wouldn't know. Maybe he's doing that, or maybe he's just having illicit conversations. Why didn't you confront him immediately when you saw the app? And OP responds, I didn't know what it was at first. I googled thinking it would be some kind of insurance quote website. When I found out what it really was, my first thought was, I need to get back into his phone and see what is in there before he knows I'm aware of it. I know that's really bad, and I feel awful that that was even my first instinct. I guess there is always a chance that he is leaving work, but the job he has kind of needs him to be there to manage people and customers all day. I would be shocked if he managed to have an affair during work hours. Deleted says, I downloaded the app to see what it's about. In order to have a decoy password, you need to pay money. I would open the app on his phone and see if he has a decoy password. If he paid money for this app, he's definitely cheating. Who would pay money for an app just to cover free smut? Nobody. I get you have 8 years here and you're searching for every reason, but there isn't one here. I feel embarrassed for you that you accepted the hotel key excuse. Why would he only have that garbage and nothing else? You're really telling me that his friend left only a hotel key behind? Ask him to use his phone because yours is broke or is lost. His reaction will be enough for you to know. She Saved the World a Lot says, I'm really sorry this has happened to you. It is a truly awful situation you are in. After reading other people's responses about the app and asking my boyfriend's opinion, he said there is no way it is just smut. You wouldn't go to those lengths. Getting the truth may be difficult. If he has some reasonably sensible explanation, then he could be lying and you have no way of knowing. He has this Fort Knox style app that prevents you from finding out the truth, but I would give it your best shot. Screw his privacy completely. Search everything you can and try to hack this app. There are too many alarm bells. He is your husband and you have to find out the truth, and unfortunately, you can't trust him enough to tell you the truth. Just owning an app like this is appalling. I am upset that they even exist. I hope for your sake it is an overreaction, and if he finds you snooping, he is not going to leave you over it. However, if he is cheating, you will leave, I hope. Good luck, my dear. Additional information from OP's comments. He's not really a tech guy, and I don't think he keeps sensitive documents on his phone. His job isn't a government job, and he doesn't use his phone for work. I'm not worried he will be angry. I think at this point, I'm more scared of what I'll find and the uncomfortable situation I'm about to put us both in. Maybe I was hoping people would say, you can't invade his privacy, leave him alone, you totally just justified why he hides stuff from you, or that app is great, I use it for such and such and I'm not cheating. One of the functions of the app is to keep videos in the vault. I'm not being naive, I'm being hopeful. Okay, so the community passed judgment and apparently they think the husband is definitely hiding something or cheating. So maybe it's just me being naive at this point, but I honestly don't think it's that. OP told us that he would need to be like some sort of magical acrobat to actually get out of work to cheat, and he allowed her to go into his phone and see his messages, which is where he found out about the app. But again, I could be absolutely wrong in all of my assumptions. So how about we move on to the update to see what happened and how the story ends. So I stewed on it for a bit while I also looked for an opportunity to snoop on his phone. Don't hate me, I'm sorry. He's a light sleeper and he takes his phone in the bathroom in the morning to listen to music while he showers, so that opportunity never really came. Last night, after we had put the kids to bed and we were watching TV on the couch, I was thinking about how everyone said that it was my right to know, and I just turned to him and blurted out, I know you have Cover Me on your phone and I want to know why, and I want to see it. It was pretty graceless because I'm not articulate when I'm nervous, and he was very surprised, but he immediately took out his phone and gave me full access to it. Reddit, he wasn't cheating, at least not as far as I can tell. My husband uses medical marijuana for Crohn's disease. His grower asked him to download the app because it allows them to communicate securely and also allows the grower to delete messages he sends to my husband from his phone, and then they don't need to use code to talk. The thought that that could be the reason never crossed my mind, as my husband is not paranoid about his usage at all. His employer knows, as well as all of our friends and family. Medical marijuana is legal in our state, and while it's unlikely our house would ever be a target for search and seizure, the growers around here have been known to get raided from time to time, and there's severe consequences if you have one tiny little toe out of line, so I can see why he would cover his ass where he could. The reason why my husband had the password in his text messages is because they will not resend your password if you lose it. And since he wasn't trying to hide anything, he put it in his text messages so he wouldn't lose it. I haven't smoked since high school, but I've seen the miracle that it can bring to people who are in a lot of pain. My husband and I make it a point to be active and open in our community on this issue by attending rallies for decriminalization and council meetings in support of local dispensaries. We are not the people who naysayers think of when they think about people who have marijuana in their house. My husband is a businessman who deals with many members of our community, and I'm basically Zuzi Homemaker, involved in the PTA, the HOA, and other community projects. Now, just to clarify, because I don't think I made the hotel key thing very clear in my original post. It wasn't like the key was just hanging out on the floor in plain sight. His buddy had emptied the car of visible trash. My husband was detailing it after buying it, so he was vacuuming and adjusting the seats back and forth, and the key card had fallen in between the seat and console, and he had put it in his pocket to throw away later. And when I say my husband doesn't have time to go hang out at a hotel room, he really doesn't. He comes home for lunch and he literally works at the end of the only exit of our housing development. So I pass his car at work every time I leave the house, and I wouldn't know if he wasn't there. Those were the reasons that I chose to believe him about the hotel key at the time. I was really more afraid of an emotional affair, maybe trading pictures and such with Crazy Pants or other girls. He said he's sorry I felt like he was weird about his phone and I could look through it whenever I wanted. I feel like he was being honest with me, and while it would be impossible to know for sure, I love my husband and I know he loves me, and I choose to believe he's not cheating. To be fair, I never accused him of cheating. I just asked him to explain some suspicious behavior, which he agreed was very suspicious. I also tried to give my husband a lot of credit by not assuming the worst and believing him when he did explain. I never actually looked at my husband's phone without his knowledge. I suppose if I didn't trust him and wanted to catch him in the act, I could have continued to wait for an open moment, which would have eventually come along. I also consider snooping someone's phone an invasion of privacy, so I'm not sure that given the moment, I would have done it. And yes, he did show me his messages on the app. There wasn't much in it and he only had 2 contacts. I know both of them and they were both on there for pretty much the same reason. He also showed me the message where his grower requested that he download the app. And just to clarify, my husband gets his marijuana from both dispensaries and growers, and it's legal in our state both ways. It's less expensive to have a personal grower as they have much less overhead than a dispensary, but it's also really difficult for a lot of people to find a reliable personal source. Nobody sane is walking around advertising that they grow pot in their house. My husband uses the dispensary for things like edibles and tinctures. Anyway, thank you Reddit. You really gave me the courage to ask my husband straight up about this. Also, I can't believe that the 1 or 2 people who said it was fear of government ended up being right, even though it wasn't my husband's fear. Alright OP, crisis averted, and it's a good thing that you trust your husband enough to believe his explanation, which to me sounds absolutely plausible, and he gave you access to his phone. And good for you OP for not snooping on his phone or outright accusing him for cheating. That would have been a different conversation. So thank you for sharing OP and all the best in the future to the both of you. Take care. Now let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user Young Grandpa. Can't approve overtime? Okay, I'll just leave early on Friday. For background, this took place in the 1990s when a T1 1.5 megabyte data connection would run you over $500 a month, and only the phone company and a few very large data-centric companies would even dream of having a T3, 43 megabytes. I was working for one of those telephone companies in the central office where we provisioned and troubleshot those very lucrative services. There were 4 people in my department, making it one of the largest such offices in the state. One day there was one person on vacation and another one out of the office for some other reason, and tech number 3 called in sick. I was alone for 8 hours with the workload of 4 technicians. Well, as a good employee, I prioritized and got all the trouble tickets done and all of the most urgent new services installed. Everything due that day was done, but in the process, I missed my 15-minute breaks and worked through lunch. My supervisor came down at the end of the day to congratulate me for my good work, and he was watching me fill out my timesheet for 9 hours. He started to get a little panicky and said he couldn't approve overtime. He would get in trouble. I reminded him that I had spent 9 hours doing the work of 4 people, 32 hours worth of work. But he said it wasn't approved. I said, what can we do then? I worked it, I need to get paid. He suggested I leave an hour early on Friday, so I agreed. Come Friday, I decided to take full advantage and only take a half hour of lunch so I could leave at 3:30 instead of 4. Well, guess what? The vacationer and the sick person had not returned, so it was just 2 of us. The other person disappeared at 1:30 or so. I found out later she was interviewing for a management position. At 3, I got paged for a ticket on one of those very expensive T3s down hard. I was to join a conference bridge to assist in troubleshooting. I joined the call. Then, at 3:25, I said, sorry, I have to drop off. I'm not approved for any overtime. The night shift person will be here in a half hour to help. I dropped off knowing the night person on duty had never worked on a T3 before. I hadn't even reached my car when the pager started blowing up. Overtime is approved, please stay on. But I had already clocked out, and so I just smiled and got into my car, drove home and took my wife out for a long overdue date night. Well, too little too late, right OP? Good for you for taking out your wife on a date night. Those are always nice. Thank you so much for sharing, OP. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.